Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Keep smiling and keep moving. This is Naeem Mushtaq here. And today we are very blessed and honored to have with us brother Osama Muhammad Nazzal from Palestine, who is the Director General of the Palestine Broadcasting International. And I am Naeem Mushtaq here. I'm talking to you from Islamabad, Pakistan, and brother Osama is directly speaking to us from Palestine. So it's like this is a part of Coffee with Friends series. And before we start the conversation, I would like to inform my new viewers that this is not a commercial interview, this is not a political interview. This is like two brothers from two different countries, one Muslim brother in Palestine, the other Muslim brother is in Islamabad, or talking to one another in a friendly manner, just like sitting in a coffee shop and exchanging ideas and point of views. And through our discussion, I will also be learning from Brother Osama, and also you will be learning from both of our discussions. So this is a conversational style. There is no formality, and I spoke to Brother Osama and told him that I was thinking what to discuss with him, because Palestine issue is a very big issue and is the heart and soul of every Muslim, not only socially, politically, but Palestine issue is a part of Islamic faith, is a part of Quran and Sunnah because of Al-Quds and Jerusalem. So I thought to have this episode focused on the life and culture of Palestine people. For me, people like me those who have never been to Palestine, my mostly desire is to understand what it means to be a Palestinian. What is the life there? How do Palestinian people behave, act, how they are different than the rest of the Muslims? So I have designed 5 questions and I'll be asking them from Brother Osama. And then through this friendly brotherly discussion, we will be sharing ideas. So Brother Osama, first of all, thank you very much. I know you are super, super, super busy, but still taking your time to talk to us. And you're not talking to me, or actually you're talking your brothers and sisters in Pakistan, in Islamabad. They will be my network, which is mostly in Pakistan, India, and also internationally, UK, USA, Turkey. They will all be looking at this interview, and they will be, educating themselves, updating themselves on the life and the culture of Palestine. So just for our new viewers, including myself, just introduce yourself briefly.
Okay, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to your show. It's really great honor. And also welcome to all our viewers in Pakistan and everywhere in this world. I'm Osama Nazzal. I'm the director of Palestine International Broadcast, living in occupied Palestine, particularly in the West Bank in Ramallah, which is like the economic capital of Palestine.
Lovely, lovely. So let's start with the first question. Very, very traditional question. Everyone talks about Palestine in every Muslim, country. We read in the books, we see in the media, Muslim media. So just a basic general question: what is the importance of Palestine in Islam and in Islamic history? Why we are so connected and attached to Palestine?
Yeah. First of all, we know that in Palestine we have the holy city of Al-Quds, Jerusalem, which represents the heart of the Islamic world. Jerusalem, Al-Quds, was the first Qibla for the Muslim world, the first direction for Muslims' prayer. And from this point, we can say that the city of Al-Quds, Jerusalem, and the area around Jerusalem, Palestine, represents one of the most significant and important places for the Muslim world. This is from the religious perspective, and I don't want to forget that Palestine, Al-Quds, is the city from which Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, ascended to heaven. It is the land of Al-Isra and Al-Ma'raj. the ascension and the prophet journey to heaven, that the Muslim world is going to celebrate, I think, next Monday. So when we talk about the religious value of Palestine and particular Jerusalem, we are talking about the core, the heart of the Muslim world. This is from the religious perspective, Doctor. Concerning the historical importance of Palestine to the Muslim world, we know that Palestine was the point for the meeting of different nations and different civilizations. When you come to the old city of Jerusalem, for example, today, you are going to hear tens of languages as people are coming from around the world to see what the old city of Jerusalem means to the world. You find Muslims from different countries, Christians, and other nationalities and other groups. We know that Jerusalem and Palestine was the place that was conquered by the Crusaders. And at the same time, we know after it was liberated, of course, by Salah ad-Din al-Ayyubi, we also know that it was the point where the people here in Palestine and the Muslim world in general reminded the world that it's possible for all people to live together regardless of faith and regardless of religion. And at this point, we remember Umar ibn al-Khattab when he entered the city of Jerusalem and he signed Al-Uhda Al-Umariyya, the Umar covenant, which allowed Muslims and the Christians to live together hand in hand and as brothers and sisters, a relationship that is based on a mutual respect, mutual understanding, and, sharing with each other the happiness and the sadness of the everyday life in Palestine. In Jerusalem, you can see not only the history of Palestine or the history of the Middle East region, but you can see the history of the world and of the very old civilizations dating back to the Canaanite time until the moment we live now.
Lovely, lovely. Yes, it is a very rich religious and historical perspective on the Palestine issue. I also wanted to know what makes a Palestinian a Palestinian? What is so unique about their identity? I know we have a lot of Palestinian students in Pakistan, and when I look at them, when we talk to them, even though they are coming from a very difficult place, occupied by external forces, their sense of humor is excellent. Their intelligence level IQ level is very high. And I am sometimes surprised that coming from such a place, people usually are, broken and demotivated. But when I look at the Palestinian students, they are like fully alive. All the senses are fully alive.
Yeah.
So I was wondering to ask you, what makes a Palestinian, a Palestinian? How do you define a Palestinian?
Yeah, how we define a Palestinian? Before we talk about the national identity of the Palestinian people are part and parcel of the Islamic and Arab nations. And there is no way to separate the Palestinian people from their Islamic and Arab. And when I say Arab, I say Muslims and the Christians dimension. So we are part of this nation that we are proud of, as they are all directing their eyes and hearts towards Palestine, mainly towards the city of Al-Quds. Then we talk about the Palestinian identity that started to elaborate after the British colonization of Palestine, and then the Nakba, the catastrophe in 1948, when the colonial Western powers represented by Britain and the United States and other colonial powers invented what is so-called Israel, the Zionist regime in 1948 at the expense of the Palestinian people, as the indigenous people of this land were forced out of Palestine, and they were turned from a people that were living on their own land into refugees living in different Arab countries and different countries around the world. And at that point, the Palestinians felt the importance of the national identity and what effort is needed and what mechanism, what action is needed to confirm the national identity, because the aim was, the first aim that the Zionist movement had and the colonial power of Israel had was to wipe off the Palestinian identity. And they said when Israel was invented that they came to a land without the people for a people without a land. That was the Zeli theory. So the Palestinian identity is of particular importance and of particular value. You know, the Palestinians were scattered around the world, and it was not easy for them to come back together, okay, and to protect their identity. They were at the risk of getting like assimilated and meted down in the societies that they went to as refugees. So the re-emergence and the reaffirmation of the national identity was a priority for the Palestinian people everywhere. And that was achieved by the start of the Palestinian Revolution. Of course, before the Palestinian Revolution, the Palestinians participated in the different revolutions in the region against the Western colonial power. And they participated in the Egyptian fight against the aggression in the 50s by Israel, France, and Britain. So these people who were fighting beside their brothers against the colonial power thought of establishing their own revolution in order to restore what was lost, Palestine. And the Palestinian Revolution proved that it was able to take the Palestinians from the square of refugees scattered in different regions and different areas around the world to become a nation, a people who are aware of their national rights and who are aware that these rights can't be restored without resistance. And the Palestinian resistance and the Palestinian Revolution strengthened the idea of the Palestinian national identity.
Yeah, mashallah, very beautifully you explained the idea. May I say, if I summarize what I understood from your talk, that when the Arab region was divided into different nations, and different nations were converted into regional issues. And now when it comes to Palestine, people think this is a regional issue. I think the question of Palestinian identity is the question of Muslim Ummah's identity, because they are the guardians of the Holy Land. Allah gave them the responsibility to lead the Muslim Ummah at the front, row, because they are the one directly dealing with the regime, the other party. So I think the Muslim identity, the question of Palestinian identity is not complete unless we add Muslim Ummah's identity into the Palestinian identity, because no Muslim can ignore the importance of Holy Land religiously and historically. Am I right, if I put it this way?
Yeah, for sure. As I said, Dr. Naeem, from the beginning, that we are part and parcel of the Muslim and Arab nations.
Exactly.
And the Palestinians can't be seen in an isolated angle from that. We are seen as part of this big nation that live in the Arab world, in East Asia, and everywhere. Every Muslim on this planet is a brother of the Palestinian people. So we are part of this nation. At the same time, we are capable and we have the ability to preserve our national identity. That is very important to confirm because it is targeted. You know, the identity of any other citizen in any other country might seem normal, okay? But when it comes to the Palestinian identity, is very special. Why? Because there is a big colonial scheme led by Israel and supported by the hypocrites and the supporters of colonial Israel to wipe off the Palestinian identity. Now, as a people, we are doing our best and we are making success in preserving this identity. At the same time, we need the support of our brothers and our friends around the world to back up the Palestinian identity. Because when we talk about the identity, we are talking about the land at the same time. And there is this relationship, this connectedness between the national identity and the land. So it's important for the Palestinian who lives in Europe or in Asia or in the United States to remember that his identity is a Palestinian identity in order to keep connected to the land from which our ancestors and our forefathers were uprooted upon a decision by the colonial power of Britain at that time, the British mandate, and the Israeli Zionist scheme, which does not recognize the existence of the Palestinians.
Exactly.
So that is the link between the existence of the Palestinian people and their national identity. That's why I confirm the importance of every effort made by the Palestinian people and their friends, supporters, and brothers to confirm the national identity of Palestine.
MashaAllah. Now, before I move to my next question, one thing I was thinking, if a person like me who has never been to Palestine, the first thing, apart from the cultural point of view, like, I mean, what are the favorite foods of Palestinian that they would love to offer their guest? What should I be ready to eat there if I go there?
Yes, I think the Palestinian cuisine is very good. It's very delicious. You know, if you come to Palestine and you see the Palestinian restaurants in the old city of Jerusalem, in the old city of Nablus, here in Ramallah, where I'm speaking from now, you're going to see the flavor and the taste of the Palestinian food in these restaurants. If you have the breakfast dish, you're going to taste the Palestinian hummus, the Palestinian falafel, the Palestinian kubba, tabboula, and different dishes, really. While the meal that most of the Palestinians like, and it's like they take it at the lunchtime, is called makluba, and it is just a joke in English. We call it upside down.
Okay.
Why? Because
you have to be upside down to eat it.
Yeah, you have the cauliflower or the eggplant, and you have the chicken, okay? And the rice is at the top, okay? So when it's completely cooked, you come, okay, and you turn it down. Then the rice would be down, and the chicken and the cauliflower or the eggplant or the potatoes, okay, and the spices become at the top, like the dressing of the rice. So they call it makluba, and just for joking, we call it in English upside down. Of course, we have, and you know, what's nice about Palestine is the diversity. Yeah, we are a very small country, Dr. Naeem. But if you go to the south, you find that they have a traditional meal that is different from the one that we have in the north or in the center. For example, if you come to the south, to the Hebron area, Al-Khalil, Khalil Ar-Rahman, named after Prophet Abraham, peace be upon him, or to the Naqab, you're going to have the Palestinian mansaf. Meat with very thin bread and the rice and boiled yogurt. This is a very traditional meal, and the Palestinians serve this meal to their guests, especially if they have foreign guests coming from a different city, and at the wedding parties. If you go to the north, in Jenin, where I was born and where my family lives, we have the meal that is called msakhan. And msakhan, it is big loaves of bread with fried onion and sumac, kind of spices, and the chicken. And also it's very delicious. And we have other dishes. So I hope that you will have the chance and the opportunity to come, and instead of talking about that only, but to have these dishes in our homes. We won't let you to go to the restaurant because our guests spend their time at our homes.
Yeah, but one thing is for sure, I won't be able to sleep tonight. I will be in my dreams, I will be having a lot of food. Because it's your dinner time here and it's 11:22 here, so I feel like I need to have some food again after listening a lot of delicious dishes. Now,
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Tell me, what is the daily routine life of a Palestinian? Because what we see in the media, and by looking at the media, I can see that they go through a lot of pain and difficulty on a daily basis. How they survive, and they remain still humans, like normal human, after going through a lot of difficulties. The reason I'm asking you this, maybe sometimes media exaggerates. So you can tell me there, what is the routine life of a normal Palestinian?
Yeah. You know, I like to talk about the happy side, the happy aspect of the Palestinian people life. But, you know, when you lose the most valuable and the precious thing, which is your freedom as a human being, then you can't ignore that.
Exactly.
So when we talk about the everyday life of the Palestinians, we have to talk about the everyday life under the Israeli occupation. Okay. And I don't think that the media exaggerates when it presents the truth of what's happening on the ground here in Palestine. The everyday life, the routine life of our people in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in occupied Jerusalem, Dr. Naeem. They are threatened 24 hours a day by the Israeli occupation army, the Israeli police, and the Israeli settlers. As Israel has a decision to empty the city of Jerusalem of its Palestinian citizens. And they have the plan to expel the Palestinians of Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood out of the city and take over their homes and hand over these homes to Israeli colonizers coming from Europe, from the United States, and from other parts of the world. You can't imagine how the people of Sheikh Jarrah are spending their time these days. They don't sleep at all. They are afraid that if they go and sleep, the Israeli settlers will come and take over their houses. So they spend their nights outdoors, gathering together, in order to support each other and defend their homes. And what applies to Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood in Jerusalem applies to other neighborhoods in the city of Jerusalem. The situation in other areas in Palestine is not much different, Dr. Naeem. And I'm now speaking from the city of Ramallah, which is 15 minutes away from Jerusalem. But I have not been to Jerusalem for more than 20 years.
Wow.
Why? Because of the Israeli occupation
Mm.
permit regime. As a Palestinian, you are not allowed even to visit your cousin in Jerusalem without having a permission from the Israeli occupation authority. And we have the big checkpoint, okay, with the different detectors and different electronic systems that you have to go through before you move from Ramallah or any Palestinian city to Jerusalem. When you're walking down the streets of Palestine, you see the big wall, the Israeli separation wall, which is built in the heart of the Palestinian land. And over that wall, you have the fences and you have the electric system and all that stuff, which features the apartheid regime. And no wonder that Amnesty International issued its report just weeks ago, labeling or proving that Israel is an apartheid regime. When you travel from one city to another in Palestine, or from your village to your city, you have to go through that very complicated apartheid regime system. A lot of checkpoints, a lot of barricades, and different types of these checkpoints and these barriers. So Palestine is punctuated by all the things that remind the Palestinian people every minute that their land is not free and they are living under occupation, under the Israeli colonial power. That is the suffering that the Palestinians are going through because, as I told you, their freedom is stolen, their land is taken over. But if we talk about Gaza, the other part of Palestine, imagine the life of the people who have been living under the siege for more than 14 years. It is a very small part of land, and it is the most populated area on this planet, Gaza. It's very overcrowded, and more than 80% of its citizens are refugees. The people who were taken out from their villages and towns in 1948, and they became refugees living in like concentrated camps in that small Palestinian coastal enclave, Gaza. When they have a sick child, okay, and we know that the infrastructure in Gaza is fully demolished, no hospitals, no clinics, and according to the United Nations reports that Gaza is not appropriate for human habitation. You see? So the families who have a patient or a sick person, especially those who suffer from cancer, and cancer is very widely spread in Palestine because of the chemicals and because of the weapons that Israel uses against them. And we know that Gaza has been through war many, many times, 2008, 2012, 2014, and 2021. If they want to take their patient person to a hospital, for example, here to the West Bank or Jerusalem or to Egypt, they need to wait for a permit from the Israeli occupation authorities who besiege Gaza for months. So many people die before they get the permission. So that is the fatal routine of life under occupation. But despite all that, okay, the people here, and this what gives you hope, are determined not to survive, are determined to live, to have life. So if you come here, you would wonder how these people live their life despite all these fatal and lethal conditions. They go to schools, though many of our students are subjected to the Israeli tear gas and to the Israeli bullets every day while they are on their way to their schools. We go to our universities and we have the best, maybe of the best universities. And according to the international classification of universities level, we have, for example, Gazette University, which is number 30 around the world, okay?
Wow.
In addition to Najah University and other universities, and they graduate the best, okay? And many of our graduates go and work in the States, in Europe, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, everywhere, okay? Based on the qualifications that they get from our universities.
Wow.
You go to our restaurants and you see how they have life 24 hours a day. So that's why the Palestinian identity, back to your first question,
Yes.
and the Palestinian people never diminished, okay? They persisted and they will persist and continue to live as an educated, ambitious people, people who love life, people who love peace, people who love to enjoy every minute and every hour of their life. Every day we come to our offices, Dr. Naeem, despite the checkpoints and the barricades and all the apartheid features that I mentioned, and we do our work. Why? Because we are convinced that we are here to exist, to live, and to have our land not only free, democratic, and prosperous.
Lovely. I can say, as you described the situation of Palestine, I think Palestinian people are not only fighting with the enemy outside, but they are also fighting with the enemy within Islamic Ummah. There are people who are with the other party also, and the Palestinians are suffering on both sides. That's why I see sometimes and I feel there is a divine interventions in the lives of Palestinian people. God is very active in Palestine, in the lives of Palestinian, to make them, live like a courageous human being, not just Muslim. But I think the word courage has a different meaning altogether. Now, if I look at the Palestinian people, I would say, if you want to define courage, look at the Palestinian, or maybe another word for courage is a Palestinian. So I see this kind of thing. In spite of all these difficulties, they are growing in international platform. And this comes to my question that how Palestinian people are playing a very important role. I know there are many names internationally who are very famous in art, literature, film, education, politics. How Palestinian people are, establishing their presence through their hard work in international, I would say, on the platform of the world.
Yeah, of course, the Palestinian people's contribution to human civilization is very clear. And not only today. If we talk about the era before the creation of the colonial power of Israel, the Palestinian people were very active in the economic, social, and cultural life, not only in Palestine, but in the whole of the Middle East. And our grandparents used to tell us about the agricultural products that they used to export from Palestine to other neighboring countries. And the Palestinian product was very distinctive at that time, before the creation of Israel. The Palestinians were the first people to have the Mercedes cars from Germany. And it's not a joke. It's a fact that they used to exchange the Jaffa orange, for the German cars. So we are talking about this dynamic since the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, until the moment before the Nakba, the catastrophe, which means the creation of the colonial power of Israel.
We could say that this
And
was, sorry to cut you, we could say that this was the Dubai of that time.
again,
Could we say that the Palestine before the creation of State of Israel used to be the center of trade like Dubai at that time?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And to confirm that, Dr. Naeem, that after the Palestinians were displaced from their homeland, they did not leave, okay? They were forced because, they were like, they were facing the most powerful powers on this planet. We are talking about the British Empire at that time,
Exactly.
because Israel was created upon support from the British and Balfour Declaration and all that. So the Palestinians, were contributing to human civilization, not only in the Arab region, but everywhere in this world. And after the Nakba, the Palestinians who were displaced, okay, they worked as teachers and doctors and engineers. And our brothers, either in Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and other countries in the Middle East, acknowledge that the Palestinians were inspiring, okay? And the schools in these countries were staffed by Palestinian teachers. And hundreds of thousands of students of these brethren countries were taught by Palestinian teachers and inspired by qualified Palestinian staffers. And the occupation of Palestine did not frustrate the Palestinians and stop their contribution to human civilization. And we have engineers, we have doctors, we have university professors, we have scientists, we have scholars everywhere on this planet. If you go to the United States, for example, we have Palestinian women who are members of the American Congress. Rashida Tlaib, for example, she is coming from a very, very small Palestinian village here near Ramallah. Now she is a member of the American Congress, and she is a very active member, and we listen to her statements every day, whether to the local American policy or the foreign policy. If you go to Latin America, you will see many Palestinians who are occupying senior positions, whether in the political life or in the economic life, social life. So we are talking about 7 million Palestinian refugees who are very active in the communities that they live in. But it's important to confirm that no assimilation. They are not assimilated, okay? And they are still holding on to their national identity, and they are convinced that one day they are going to return to the land from which they were uprooted. We are 13 million people, about 6 million Palestinians living in occupied Palestine, and 7 million Palestinians living around the world. And they are not passive, they are active in the countries where they live. Yes.
Inshallah. They will be back, inshallah, one day. Now, my last question is the Palestinian media, and you also belong to the media industry. What role they are playing to promote the Palestinian talent and culture?
Yes, the role of the Palestinian media is of high importance, Dr. Naeem. Of course, we have, and this what makes the Palestinian media sector distinguished from other media sectors in the region, that we have tens of radio stations, tens of TV stations, and on social media, thousands of activists and
Okay.
influencers using
Mm.
the different social media platforms.
Mm.
Of course, these stations, whether radio stations, TV stations, satellite channels, of course, they present a plethora of different programs that are covering the Palestinian culture, the social
Mm.
life, the political life, the economy, and everything, trying to present Palestine as it is to
Mm.
the world, focusing on the tourism sector, on the religious value of Palestine,
Okay.
on the Palestinian people contribution to universal art, to universal civilization, and so on. And in addition to that, also the Palestinian media tells the world about the suffering of the Palestinian people,
Mm.
children, women, men, and the agonies that they are going through because of the Israeli
Mm.
occupation. The Palestinians' contribution to the cinema around the world.
Mm.
We have many actors who got or who got nominated to Oscar Award, who go to Europe, to different Western countries, to
Mm.
Asian countries,
Mm.
and they present their media productions and their attractive programs. So the Palestinian media focus on the Palestinian culture and the Palestinian art and the everyday life of the
Mm.
Palestinian is not less important than what it represents in terms of what the Palestinian people are subjected to, being a people whose land is occupied.
Hmm. I'm just thinking, I don't know if this is available or not, but I think there should be a book uh, with the names and pictures and the talent, the Palestinian talent who is performing, active, I would say, um, sharing their talent with the rest of the world, sort of a directory of the Palestinian talent. There should be a book. So the other people can know also that Palestinian is not only a land of pain and sorrow, but is also a land of development and a land of creativity and a land of challenge. I think Palestine as a nation is one of the best motivational story. We read a lot of self-help psychology like Dale Carnegie, Zig Ziglar, Stephen Covey, Seven Habits of the Highly Effective People. So all these motivational experts, they are giving us case studies. I think for the Muslim Ummah, the best of case study we can have how to live a motivational life as a nation and also as an individual is to study the issue of Palestine and study the people of Palestine, how they are growing and contributing in the world literature, art, science, in spite of all the difficulties they are going through. And I think, inshallah, the day will come and they will be back in their house. I don't know when the time will come, but this is a part of Muslim theology and Muslim faith is to never lose hope. There has been a lot of ups and downs in Islamic history, and we Muslim will always be back to where we were kicked out. And inshallah, the things will get better. Well, just want to thank you so much because I took a lot of your time. I know you are super, super busy, but just for the viewers also, this is the first, consider this one the first episode of the conversation between me and Brother Osama. I just wanted to, for myself, I wanted to know, the life and the situation in Palestine, and hopefully one day, if I will be there, I may be able to make a lot of videos of covering the different social aspect. And have you been to Pakistan, Brother Osama?
Not yet.
Okay,
but
you should.
I will.
Yeah,
I will. Yeah.
you should come here because you should come here. And in Islamabad, there are a lot of National Defense University. This is a very good university, ComSat University, where there are a lot of Palestinian students are studying in Pakistan. And I think you should be speaking to some of the university students, Pakistani students, Pakistani teachers, faculty members, media, so that they have some idea of what is going on in Palestine. And anyways, it's so pleasure talking to you. Any message you would like to give it to the Pakistani youth who is in a growing phase? They will be our next generation, and I think our next generation remembers Palestine very much, because from their childhood they are keep on listening from their parents about the Palestine, Masjid Aqsa, first Qibla, and there's so much in Palestine. It's a part of Islamic faith.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to Muslim youth?
Yeah. Yeah. What I would like to say to our brothers of Pakistan, the people of Pakistan, that our ambassador to Pakistan, Mr. Ahmed Rubai, always tells me about how much the people of Pakistan love Palestine and how much they are kind to Palestine and the Palestinian people. He always tells me that their hearts go for Jerusalem, for Al-Quds, and for Palestine. And what I say to the youth of Pakistan, that their forefathers and the old generation used to support Palestine not only by words, but by deeds and actions. And today they do the same thing. And we watch the demonstrations that were organized in Pakistan in solidarity with our people in Gaza, when Gaza was under the Israeli war. So I tell them that we are sure that your support for the Palestinian people, for Al-Quds, will never diminish. And as long as you support us, we will have hope, and this hope will never diminish.
Inshallah, inshallah. And I look forward to see you in Pakistan, and inshallah, if Allah is willing, I will be seeing you in Palestine. You never know who comes first.
I hope so. Thank you.
So thank you so much. This is the end of our episode here, and inshallah, I'll come back with another episode with another guest, and maybe I would see if Brother Osama's busy schedule allow us to have another discussion with him or on another topic. So until then, I would ask your permission to leave, and nice talking to you, Brother Osama, and thank you very much for watching this episode. Thank you very much. This is Naeem.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.